Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're following the previous episodes in this series, you might already be aware we build a search that knows the article you pre-embedded, or you build a chat that knows what you put into a system prompt. But this widget does something new. You paste any URL, it indexes it live, then asks questions about what the page only is. Watch, I'll ingest the Next.js docs, then ask two things the page actually covers. As you can see, we ask multiple questions to the same URL, so we only ingest it once and answers come from the retrieved chunks. That's the RAG. Let's see how it's wired. So to start with, we need to introduce the new card to our home page for the AI playground. Let's introduce. We add the new icon, we provide the new accent that we wanted to use and provide a styling to it. The next thing, I'm gonna get the default information about the what Ask This Page is with the title and the description. Also add the styling to it, so we should be able to see the card with some little bit of styles. If you reload the page, you should be able to see. Okay, so we are not having it running, so let me run it again. And if you refresh, we should see the home page having the new tile saying Ask This Page. Let's go and implement the page first. Create a new folder naming as Ask, then create a page inside it. Once we have a page inside it, I'll go ahead and paste the content inside it. So we are going to have a DemoShell loading the component AskPage. So we need to go and create the new component AskPageRAG. This component has two UI modes driven by whether if the index is null or not. To ingest, you need to provide a URL and then press the ingest button. Once that is done, you should be able to see the index and number of chunks in a line. You can ask as many as questions against the same index. Before going ahead, let's go and deep dive into the architecture. What we have is the different stages where what really happens. In the phase 1, you provide a URL, the server fetches the pages. Next stage, it stripes the HTML split into the chunks. Next, each chunk becomes a vector. That's our searchable index. The index comes back to the client, no database in this demo. Next, in the phase 2, we embed the questions, find the closest chunk. And finally, only those chunks go to the model as a context, where you need the answer stays grounded and precise. In the context of this episode, what RAG represents here? Where R represents retrieve relevant chunks, A represents augment the prompt with them, and finally generate the answers. So we are not asking GPT to remember the whole internet, only the two most relevant passages from your page. To start with, I am creating the route for the ask first, which is going to be our second route, which eventually answers using the retrieved context. This is the RAG, which retrieves and generates. We do not have the cosine-similarity library function, so let's go ahead and add this. Inside the lib, let's create a new cosine-similarity function and paste the existing function. We already used that inside the semantic search, so you should be aware about it. Let me add another route, which is the important one for the ingest. Now you see the ingest works fine and we get the total number of index from the provided URL. So this route is for the building the index. No vector DB in this episode. We return arrays and keep them in React state for production. If you look step by step, first we validate the URL should be a type of string. Then the server fetches the pages to avoid the COS issues the browser might hit. Then we convert the HTML, or we can say the transform HTML to the plain text, which is not perfect but enough for the docs and articles. Then we split into the overlapping chunks so the embedding stays focused. After that, we have the embeddings, or one embedding for each chunk. At the end, we return all the chunks, embeddings and total number of chunks count. Now the second route. This route we use as answered using the retrieved context. So whatever context chunks that we retrieved from the ingest route will be answered using this route. This is the RAG. First, We retrieve the messages from the useChat plus the chunks and the embeddings from the client index. If no chunks, we give 400 instead. Second, the last message in the thread, we pull text from the paths, that's the user's question. In this, we also use the same embedding model as ingest. So the question in chunks lives in the same vector space that's required for meaningful similarity. Next, we score every chunk with cosine-similarity and sort descending with top two answers and join the context. So why 2? It balances enough context for a good answer. Not so much we blow the token budget. Semantic search use top 3 on articles. Here we use 2 on the web chunks. And finally, using the streamText with a strict system prompt, answer using only the context that you are aware about. So we return the message in the streaming response. In case if anything fails, we return the 500. This component, AskPage, is mainly combined with 4 blocks inside it. The first block contains the states for handling the URL, the index, which is the chunks and the embedding that we're going to get from after the ingesting, and the ingesting errors if there are any, and definitely the index in our memory, which is our database for the session. The second part of this component is the handle ingest function. The handle ingest function calls the route that we have created. On success, it gets the data that we store it back to our state, and we set the messages to empty. So if the user uses the new URL, it will not mix up with the old URL just in case. The third stage that we have inside this is the useChat or the ask handle. This function simply checks for the user input message. Then it calls the message function with the text and the body. And body also includes the chunks that we retrieved after the ingest. And last, we have the UI space where we'll have input to provide the URL and the ingest button. Then we'll also have the section at the bottom where user can have the chat. So that's it for today. Ask this page, 2 routes, 2 phases, a RAG without a database, input any URL, embed the chunks and ask the questions. Next in the series, we are going to build an AI landing page generator. What exactly it does? You simply provide a prompt explaining what or how a landing page you want to have it, and it's just gonna give you the JSX and the landing page in a preview. Hope you like this. Subscribe if you want the full path. Comment if you want to follow up. Thanks for watching.